In this week's video, we're going to talk about the miracle of Chanukah. What is the miracle of Chanukah? What happened that we as Jews, religious and non-religious, celebrate Chanukah every single year? And what do we do as Jews on Chanukah? To understand the miracle of Chanukah, we must go back 2,200 years during the Second Temple period. At that time, Israel was under the control of the Syrian Greek Empire, with the leader at that time was Antiochus III. Now, Antiochus III wasn't a great guy, but he wasn't as bad as the others that came after him. He did impose some heavy taxes on the Jews, but the Jews could deal with this because they could still worship in the temple and offer the sacrifices as it is stated within the Torah. Now, when Antiochus III died, his son took over, Seleucus. Now, this was not a great guy, and he was very bad to the Jews. Not as bad as we'll discover as his brother, but still very bad. In that time, the high priest was Yochanan. Now, Yochanan had some opposition from Jews within the community called Hellenistic Jews. Now, these Jews absorbed the culture of the Syrians that lived amongst them, and they started to do one of the worst sins within the Torah, idol worship. Yochanan was not happy with this, and these Hellenistic Jews opposed him rigorously, and they made several attempts on his life. Later on, Seleucus was killed, and his brother took over, Antiochus IV. Now, this was not a good guy, and they even called him the madman. Now, Antiochus IV wanted to remove Yochanan, the high priest, and there were several attempts made against his life. Instead, he put in charge his son, also a Hellenistic Jew, called Joshua. Now, Joshua, being a Hellenistic Jew, did not want to be called Yeshua, but rather took on the name Jason and started to do idol worship within the temple. Antiochus IV made some harsh decrees against the Jews that carries the capital punishment, meaning if you were to do them, you will be killed. Some of these restrictions was Jews was not allowed to do circumcision or to observe kosher laws or to keep the Sabbath. They even burned the Torah. This was a big desecration for all Jews. They came to one of the greatest rabbis of all times, Rabbi Eliezer, and they told Rabbi Eliezer that he should eat pork so that his followers would follow suit. Rabbi Eliezer, being a man of God, refused and said he will not eat pork and desecrate God's name. They said, okay, don't eat pork, but at least take it in your hands and bring it to your mouth. That way, your followers will think that you eat pork. He said, I will refuse. I will rather die than desecrate God's name. And he was subsequently killed. Now, these Hellenistic Jews had great power under Antiochus IV, and they came to a city, and they wanted to build an altar there for their idols. Now, Mattiyahu, the old priest, did not like this at all, and he took up the sword and killed all these Hellenistic Jews as well as the legions that was there from the Syrian Greek Empire. Now, Mattiyahu, the old priest, knew that the Jews need a leader, someone that could fight for them, and he appointed Yehuda the Strong, also called Maccabee. Now, the word Maccabee actually spells out 4 Hebrew letters, which is Michamocha, Ba Elohim Hashem. Who is like you, O God? Under Yehuda the strong, the Maccabee movement gained some power and started to oppose Antiochus IV and the desecration and the idol worship that took place from this Hellenistic Jews. Now Antiochus IV sent some armies to oppose the Maccabees, but the Maccabees defeated them in battle. Antiochus sent a second battalion to try to defeat the Maccabees, but the Maccabees still beat them and killed them. Antiochus, not to be outsmarted, decided to send the biggest army he could sum up, an army of 40,000 men against the few Maccabees that remained. And by a miracle of Hashem, the Maccabees defeated this 40,000 men and retook Jerusalem. When they retook Jerusalem, obviously their first objective as religious Jews is they wanted to rededicate the temple to the temple services. When they got to the temple, the menorah, the golden menorah, has been long stoled and sold. And they took metal and made a new menorah. The only problem was that they only had a small flask of oil left with a stamp of the high priest. Now it would take another 7 days to make this oil. The rededication of the temple was on the 25th of Kislev. And that is why Chanukah starts on the 21st of Kislev. But the miracle of Chanukah is that this small flask of oil that should only really have burned for a single day continued to burn for another 7 days. And that is proof that Hashem was with the Jews. And it was an open miracle. Such a miracle that the rabbis declared it a festival for all times, in which Jews should remember what God did for the Maccabees and the Jewish people, and how He was there for the Jews. That is why one of the main things that we should do in Chanukah is we should retell this story to as many people as we can. That is also part of some of the Halacha, or Jewish law, around Chanukah. Now Chanukah is celebrated by lighting candles, one every day of Chanukah, starting on the 25th of Kislev. Now a Chanukiah has 8 candles with a candle in the middle, called the Shamash candle. Now the Shamash candle is the servant candle to light the other candles. There's actually also another halacha connected to this Shamash candle in the middle, or the servant candle. This Shamash candle is to give you light. Remember, in the old days there was no electricity. So if you wanted to read or do something, or didn't want to stumble, the Shamash candle would provide you the light. Because by Jewish halacha, you cannot benefit from the light of the Chanukiah candles, as they are only there to commemorate the miracle of Chanukah. The Chanukiah is normally placed in a place where people will see it, so that they were to ask you, why are you burning this candles, this Chanukiah? And then you will tell them the miracle that I have just told you. These days, many people put it in their windows so that people from outside can see it and remember that Hashem is with the Jews and He's with them still. In the old days, it was put in the entrance or at the doorway. So as you would enter a Jewish home, you would see the candles burning. And then the question will start, why are you burning these candles? And you will start to tell the story, the miracle that is Chanukah. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you found it informative, and hopefully you will tell this story to as many people as you can.